Build compelling real-time apps quickly and scale them globally with the PubNub real-time network. Only PubNub delivers the core building blocks needed for any real-time application. Find out for yourself by signing up for free today. Visit pubnub.com. Welcome to This Week in Location-Based Marketing, the most trusted podcast dedicated to the new business of location. It is time for This Week in Location-Based Marketing. This is episode number 141. We're recording this August 2nd, 2013. That's a Friday afternoon. My name, Rob Woodbridge from Untether.tv, located in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. Joining me, as always,
Asif Khan from the Location-Based Marketing Association, still in Toronto yet again.
Summertime, baby. Summertime, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good to be home for a while, but yeah.
Yeah, it's also probably good to get that itch to get back on the road, right?
It won't last long.
No, of course not. Not at all. Well, welcome. Yeah. This is episode number 141. We are doing this at our regularly scheduled time. We have a jam-packed show. I don't even want to introduce the show because you're going to be blown away by it. We got some great feedback from last week's show. Before we get into any of these things, because there is a mobile minute, there is a special guest, we do have an app, we do have a resource, we do have 6 stories. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Anything going on with the Location-Based Marketing Association that we should know about, Asif?
We're still in that summer mode.
Siesta mode is what I like to call it.
Yeah, there's a few events happening. Probably the one that's coming up, the quickest here is August 13 and 14. We're going to be down in San Diego for the Retail Customer Experience Executive Summit. So if you're in San Diego, check that out. You can find the information on LBMA.com/events, Retail Customer Experience Executive Summit. A lot of good retailers. I'm doing a panel on location and with BSL and Tommy Bahama will be on the panel as well, so that'll be interesting. It'll be fun. And
then it kicks in, obviously, in September for you. Well, that's good. I mean, nice and relaxed, slow, once a month. That's the pace that you like, right? Traveling once a month for a couple of nights.
That'd be good, yeah.
That'd be good. Well, so that's all that's going on with Location-Based Marketing Association this coming week. Maybe this coming month, you might hear that, that there's nothing beyond our next episode. That's it until September, after Labor Day weekend. But I'm sure it'll pick up for you.
Yeah.
Well, what do you say? We get such a great show. I'm very excited about this. Great stories around some of these incumbents, worldwide stories, obviously. We try to touch on as many stories from outside of North America as possible to bring the context and awareness, the fact that this is a global revolution that we're going through right now. But before we do this, it's very relevant. In fact, this is a Mobile Minute with Chuck Martin. Chuck Martin is the author of, a number of books, including 2 mobile books. But we got a chance to sit down and record these mobile minutes that we do every day. And this one that we're about to show you is, in fact, a very relevant topic. It's about a company called Xtify and this debate that's been going on about the mobile web versus applications, and especially in the retail environment. And Xtify is doing something fairly unique with what they're doing with the mobile web inside of retail locations. So it's a location play with push notifications from the web. Here's Chuck talking about it on our Mobile Minute. Welcome to another Mobile Minute. Chuck, are we still talking apps versus mobile websites when it comes to mobile commerce?
Well, we have been for some time now. It turns out that with pinpointing, which I wrote about in Mobile Influence, pinpointing is really targeting a consumer in a really significant way. It turns out I'm hearing from a lot of retailers now, big retailers, that a very large majority of people are using mobile websites versus apps in their stores. And a couple of companies that I'm quite familiar with, Xtify, which is a case study in my book, and UsableNet, these are 2 very successful, essentially platform companies. They just combined a few days ago, and what they're doing is they're actually creating the capability to do push-based mobile-based push messaging, so that when you're looking at a website in a store, you actually get a push message based on your behavior in terms of that website. So you don't have to opt in for that because it's really part of the website. And that's really sort of the way things are going right now. This is a very big new trend.
What about when you're not in the store? So this is where the apps really come into play, is to attract people from their couch into the store. But what about those? How does the mobile website interfere or interact with customers when they're not in the store?
Well, what it looks like to me is we're starting to have a sort of a split in the market. The power users, a lot of the people who are watching this, would be the people who would be using the apps, and then there's the kind of the everybody else person who's using the mobile web, and they both sort of frown on each other as a group. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out.
And that was Chuck Martin and the Mobile Minute. Big news on that. If you're interested in that kind of information, which is like literally less than 2 minutes, we'll say, deep knowledge, less than 2 minutes like that, you can actually now subscribe to it on iTunes. I'm very excited about this. There are 136 episodes of those 1 minute mobile minutes up there right now. You go check it out and just do a search for a mobile minute on iTunes. And thanks for Chuck for letting us use that.
All right.
Let's jump into this. You found a fairly unique application, a mobile app called Spott Messenger. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, it comes from a company called Rosen, which is based in Chicago, and it's really interesting. It's an iOS app, iOS only, and it's really about people sharing stories and creating conversations that kind of have a life to them and exist around a particular location. And so for me, what jumped out when I read about this app is, I kind of harken back to the old days of, you walk into the grocery store or the local coffee shop, and there's a bulletin board, and you'd have all these little messages posted up on it, and all that kind of stuff. And for me, this is sort of like the digital version of that in a way, where you can create a conversation or a spot, if you will, is how they refer to it, about any topic. They had examples of neighborhood watch groups having their own thing connected to that location. So there's basically any topic and any location can have its own spot, but it's about a community of people contributing to a conversation and kind of interacting with each other in this. It's all anonymous, I think, as well, which is kind of interesting.
You can check them out at Spott, quite literally, spo.tt, spo.tt, or look for it in the App Store. This is an iOS-only application right now, so you can find it in the App Store right now, just under Spott with 2 T's. That is the app fascination of the week. All right, our first story today, we didn't talk about Foursquare last week. We are going to talk about it here as our first story. They signed an agreement just recently, this past week, with Turn, which is the world's largest demand-side platform. And Turn is going to leverage Foursquare data, your check-ins, my check-ins, anonymously, obviously, to actually retarget you on the web through partner websites. This is probably something in a long time coming. And it actually, what's great about this, Asif, is that it devalues, it takes the emphasis off the actual check-ins. It's the data that they're selling to these guys to actually add value to their advertisers. This is a good deal, I would say.
This is a good deal, and this is for
so
me.
Rare.
This is a positive Foursquare story because we haven't had a lot of those on the show.
No.
But I like this deal. This is a good use case of that data, and if I happen to go to a lot of Mexican restaurants, and I've been checking in at those all over the place, then it makes sense that when I'm online surfing, sitting at my desk on my laptop or wherever I am, and I'm on websites, that the ads on those websites are relevant to me based on data that you can leverage about what I've been doing. So I like this, and so there's a lot of partners in this. There's a lot of data that's coming from this, and it's not just data from what you've done with Foursquare on its own. It's all the other apps that have integrated Foursquare as well. And apparently there's 40,000 apps that have integrated Foursquare. That's insane.
That is big, and leveraging that data now all of a sudden makes it powerful. We've always talked about data being powerful. Yeah. I think this is a great way to use data. But the way you described it, it's almost like it's old school for me, which is you take the data that is in a vibrant device like this that's mobile, and you're trying to. I don't think that they can use all of this data to push it onto the web. Like, I mean, as you said, the Mexican restaurant, interesting, but I mean, I'm sitting at my desk. So maybe it's, subjective to, what's best in context to the browser world as opposed to this world, right? But maybe, I don't know if there's any relationships that that Turn has that actually pushes mobile ads into other mobile applications. I'm going to assume that they do. So maybe there's an opportunity there for contextual, Mexican restaurant lovers.
I don't know who they are, but I read that there's a piece here that says that Turn's got 16 display inventory partners, 6 video inventory partners, and 4 mobile ad networks that they work with. So
that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and we talked about this a little bit before we started recording, which was I don't know any specific statistics. I don't know. We do know that there have been 3.5 billion check-ins since Foursquare's inception. We know that there are somewhere in the realm of 30 million users. How many active users, we don't know. We do know that there has been a 1% decline in the number of people that have actually used this on iOS year over year. So last year, 5.5% of the people who were polled from an iOS device used Foursquare. This year, 4.5%. So we know that things are in decline, but you don't need 10 million or 30 million people to make money off of this stuff. They've got the data. They've got 3.5 billion check-ins. So this makes sense, right? This is something that if they do it right, they can make money. How much money? I'm not sure. Who has the value? I'm not sure. Foursquare has the data, but Turn has the distribution, right? Who's more powerful here, right?
Well, you gotta think it's Turn. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, the data is great, but it's not the only data that Turn's relying on. I mean, they're making tons and tons of money targeting ads, for everybody.
Yeah.
Foursquare's got to find ways to make money, and this is one.
It is but one, and that's the key. It is but one way, and there are many ways that they can, but time is short. But very cool. So Foursquare partnering with Turn, one of the world's largest demand-side platforms advertising. It's maybe onto something here. Long time coming, I would say. Yeah.
There you go.
All right. Second story, my man.
Yeah, so our next story comes from India. 2 companies, one called Mobilink and the other Train of Thought is the name of this company. And they've teamed up and they've launched a platform called SmartPush. And basically, as the name implies, it's a push, location-based deal platform, push-based platform. There's nothing really unique about this. I don't think it's different, that different than, AT&T Shopalerts or any of the other location-based, targeted push platforms. We just heard about Xtify, in the Mobile Minute, which is another one. There's lots of these out there. But what I like about this, and the reason I wanted to pull it forward into the show this week, is that this is happening in India. And it just kind of goes to the point that, this isn't only a North American phenomenon. We're seeing these platforms, in every market. In China, always has their own version of everything. Now we're here in India. We know we covered a company called MonsterMedia a little ways back. That's I think they're based in Ireland. That has a push platform that they're enabling carriers with, like Placecast does. So there's a lot of these things out there, and there's more emerging every day. So. I like that. And then the other thing related to this is, just to kind of continue the geographic view of this is, even right here in Canada, while we don't have this really happening yet, from the carrier perspective, I have it on good authority that we can expect that Rogers will be launching a service like that here this fall with Placecast technology as well. So
I look at this example that maybe what Rogers is doing. I think that's the true way to do this. In order to be able to penetrate a market, you need that carrier pull, right? To be able to get into there. And I think that's really where you're going to see some companies succeed. To do this independently is such a challenge. It's hard to rise above. So everybody tries to create new little niches or new little services. Like for SmartPush, they have this, interest sensing technology, which is basically, we talk about this, the mobile cookie, right? So it senses what you like and what you don't like, and it smartly pushes things to you. And what we learned even in that Mobile Minute was the Xtify when you actually go to a website, and it's geofenced, and you're at the website and you're in the store, it pushes you deals, right? It's real-time deals, and all of this has got to come to a head. There's got to be a very simple way. I don't believe really in getting somebody in my store. And here's the challenge: getting somebody in my store and then forcing them to go to a website on a mobile device. I think that kind of is a disconnect, right? It's like second screen in me. It's a disconnect. You've got me here, and we've always said the differentiation for retail outlets is what? Don't put them back into the screen. Create an experience, right? So this is where I think that there's the ability to draw somebody into the store, and then you have to take over from the moment you're in that store. So SmartPush drives people in. I think that that's going to be key, and I think that the Rogers deal is the way to distribute it. But that's just, I could be talking out of my ass, but I think that that's exactly how you have to do this. Once you're in the store, it's entirely up to you, the retailer, to blow the socks off of your customer with the experience inside the store.
And even things like what we talked about last week with the link it stuff.
Yeah.
You get these screens in the store, and you can create that relation between the mobile device and the screen. So for me, if you have that kind of sensing technology, that learning technology, and you can bring that into the screen environment in a store, and then you can use that to push content both ways, really, to the screen, to the mobile device, then I think things get really interesting.
Yeah, without the user having to do anything, right? Which is, don't make them go to a browser on a smartphone and type in a URL. Don't make them do that. We agree here.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, our third story. This is about you guys.
Yeah. Well, not a big story, but an interesting one, I think, for some folks out there. This is the Location-Based Marketing Association. We announced an alliance, a partnership, if you will, with another industry group called the Open Geospatial Consortium, which has been around for a long time. And they play in the standards space. That's really their kind of bread and butter. They work with a lot of the sort of big geo data companies, Esri, folks like that.
Yeah.
And obviously we work with a lot of brands and marketers and retailers, and so there's good kind of synergy between our member bases. But specifically, we see some interesting opportunities to kind of look at this place data harmonization, standardization issue that we think the brands and the retailers that we serve are concerned about and are voicing that to us. And the OGC has platforms that they've designed and standards that they've designed that we think can help address that. And so we figure by working together, we can kind of come at this issue with greater resources and kind of combine our different constituent groups and kind of bring some clarity to the issue.
LBMA partnering with the OGC. Yeah. So if you go to the Open, you can go to the LBMA.
We're getting down with OGC.
I know. So I knew it was coming. Coming.
Okay. You knew it was coming.
Oh, Steve.
I heard that song the other day on the radio, that OPP song, and I'm like, wow, I'm old now.
Yeah, you are. When that goes into the when they're playing that on the classic radio stations, right?
Yeah.
But you now back to, you can go to the LBMA.com for more information, or opengeospatial.org. OGC. Now that's stuck in my head. All right.
There you go.
All right, why don't you tee this up? You had an opportunity to sit down. We're going to take a break from the stories. You had an opportunity to sit down with Jon Rosen from iInside. What was this about? Talk a little bit about this. Cue this up. We'll roll with your interview.
Yeah. So I mean, iInside is the new name for what was Wireless Works, a indoor location analytics company out of California. So I had a chance to sit down with Jon and kind of understand why the shift in name and why they're going to iInside. And it's really about the focus on analytics as opposed to customer engagement in store. And we're seeing kind of lots of retailers step up and say, yeah, we're really interested in that. And there's been some controversy around that too. Euclid got into a bunch of trouble with the U.S. government around that. And there's a sort of a new consortium that's formed with retailers and providers like iInside to kind of address those concerns and those issues. So Jon talks about that as well. So here it is, Jon Rosen from iInside. Well, it's that time of the week again where we get to bring on a special guest. And this week it's Jon Rosen, Executive Vice President of iInside, a Wireless Works company. Jon, welcome to This Week in Location-Based Marketing.
Steve, thank you very much. Nice to be here.
So it's great to have you on the show. You've been part of sort of the LBMA family for a while now, and why don't you, for our audience out there who may be not so familiar with you, you were Wireless Works. Now you're iInside, a Wireless Works company. Tell us a little bit about who you are. What are you guys all about?
Sure. So Wireless Works was a 15-year-old company. We've been around for a long time. And we've been a technology firm that focused on various types of indoor location services implementation. So we've done trucks in South America and hospitals and campuses in the United States and using most different modalities. And we've done that for about, well, let's say 14 years. So 2 years ago, we made a decision to be more of an indoor LBS product company, focus on retail, and it really is enough of a change that it's the right thing for us to do to rebrand. And so we will be, we're iInside, and we'll take the Wireless Works piece out over the next month or so.
And so let's dig into that indoor LBS space a little bit. I mean, really from our perspective as an industry association, when we look at it, there's really two big buckets of solutions or opportunity, if you will. On the one hand, you have knowing where people are in a retail environment, in any environment for that matter, and being able to engage them. So customer engagement, maybe I know you're standing in front of the Coke display, I want you to buy Pepsi, here's an offer to influence purchase decision. But probably the bigger opportunity, and the one I think you guys are focused on, is the analytics play around understanding traffic flow patterns and where people are in stores and what does that mean for planogramming exercises and where's the dwell time and all those kinds of things. So how do you see the indoor analytics opportunity specifically?
It's good. It's a good point. And look, I think you're right that the marketing piece is really interesting and it's very creative, and it's the one that's incredibly extensible. But analytics are critical. There's a need for analytics. It's a piece of data that retailers have been without forever. It's got an ROI associated with it, so it's easy to understand how we can justify an expensive or at least a big enterprise-wide implementation. So on the analytics side, retailers, having operated the same way for since they began, right, 100 or 200 years maybe of historical data, they've been without traffic information. So they measure their success on basically on revenue. And if you've got a store like a clothing store that has 20% closure or 20% conversion, that means they know one piece of data on 20% of their customers. And they know nothing about the rest of the people that walk in the store. So the idea that we can gain insights from traffic and feedback on merchandising and marketing and store operations and brand connection and retail is a very resonant point for retailers. So this is what we're focusing on. And the type of technology company that we are, we're able to deliver solutions that the retailers, it resonates with them that this is a way for them to change business or, let's say, to enhance existing business processes with traffic data.
And so when we look at the space and the category overall, we get to work with lots of players in the industry, and there seems to be such diversity in the technology side of it. I mean, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, ultrasound, LEDs, magnetic fields. I mean, there's a number of ways to do indoor and figure out where people are. Does your company focus on a particular type of technology? Is there a reason or one's better than the other?
That's a good question. So we're technology agnostic, first of all. We have a tremendous amount of software. We hold about 30 patents in indoor location today. And having worked with most modalities, we have the option to use what we believe is going to work best for the retailer. We do focus principally on Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. And the reason that we do that is in an implementation, the idea is deliver data that's resonant to the way retailers run their business, which means we geofence departments or sub-departments or end caps or brands. And by doing so, we're able to deliver data that supports the merchandising by department or by brand or by end cap or whatever that might be, and the marketing and the store operations. So accuracy is critical in the ability to see a reasonable cross-section of the people coming in the store is also important. So Bluetooth, which is very inexpensive, I mean, we're able to do implementations without charging for hardware, is excellent. It also follows somebody every second they move through the store. It also allows us to get down to about 1 meter accuracy, which means we can really effectively draw a fence around any shape and size department. Mm-hmm. We also use Wi-Fi because the coverage is a little greater. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. The challenge with Wi-Fi is it does eat down the battery a little bit on a cell phone, and the other is that the polling rate is not every second. It's every 30 to 60 to 90 to 120 seconds, which means there's gaps in data. But the ability to put both together give us a great cross-section of people, great accuracy. I mean, we follow an individual throughout the store. We don't know anything about them, but using it as sort of a transponder, we see that cell phone with great, excellent data. We also see when they come back, and we see other stores that they went to. So, you know, it's important to have the resources to choose the right technology and the expertise to implement it.
Right. So I want to jump on something you just said. I mean, you made that comment that you don't know anything about them. That sort of brings up for me the privacy discussions. I mean, we hear a lot about this, especially in the indoor space lately with the whole Euclid, discussion that's been going on. How do you guys see that, and kind of, you know, how do we help alleviate the issue around, or the concern around privacy?
That's a good question. And to be fair, you know, when we have representatives of our government telling us that they're concerned, that's a very fair statement. They should be concerned. What we'd like to see is a better understanding of the public of what actually is happening out there, and that's us and Euclid and all these other vendors that are trying to deliver safe and secure solutions. The good news is, well, I'll make one point. The public, I'm not sure entirely understands that these companies are not keeping any information about the phone that's directly connectable to the phone. And they have no information about the individual, even if they have information about the phone. So the idea that we're keeping personal information, if that's the understanding, is not correct, at least the vendors that we know. But more important, as this evolves, what you're going to see is a consortium that's been formed. It's the Future of Privacy Consortium. It's got, call it 10 of the top vendors in the space and 10 of the top retailers. And eventually both of those groups will grow. And you'll see better information make its way to the public. You'll see proposed standards and proposed practices that the government should look at and understand that that kind of cooperative effort is going to lead towards a good solution. It also means that you're seeing commitment from, let's call it, the top 10 retailers in the country saying, this is an important technology. We're going to invest our time and effort to making it, to standardizing it in a safe and fair way.
And that's great. And I think, you know, part of it, too, is in addition to sort of more education around the issue and the privacy pieces is, you know, just from a consumer perspective, you know, articulating the value proposition to them as well, you know, on the marketing side, I think is equally important, and we certainly see that as well. So last comment from you, if you will. I mean, put on your kind of thinking cap, looking forward. Where do you see the indoor analytics, indoor LBS space, you know, say a year or 2 years from now? What's next? What's coming? What should we be looking for?
Yeah, sure. I think the one very striking thing about the industry is that the awareness and the interest on the part of the retailers and the brands has absolutely exploded. I mean, all of us in the space know that the involvement from and the percentage of retailers that know about it and are doing something, well, it's exploding. So that part's great. That's a big change in the last year. I think directionally, you'll see privacy is going to run its course, and we're happy about that. That's important. Accuracy and cost reduction are going to be big changes in the space. For big implementations to occur, we've got to be able to deliver data in the format that retailers want. So everybody's working on trying to be more accurate, deliver better data, implement faster, and get into the consideration set, and over time, the implementation side of things. I think you'll see that. I also think you'll see more solutions with combined technologies involved. You may see people like us with Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. You may see camera and Bluetooth. You may see Bluetooth 4.0 and RFID. You know, there'll be more companies like us that have 20 engineers where we can deliver multiple solutions to support the need out there. That's probably the biggest thing we see over the next year or two.
Excellent. Well, again, for our audience, we've been chatting today and hanging out with Jon Rosen, Executive Vice President of iInside, a wireless works company. Jon, thank you so much for making some time and joining us on the show this week.
Thank you.
All right.
So just thanks to Jon again for doing that, for giving us the time and coming on the show. And it's always great to kind of hear right from folks that are living and breathing this every day and kind of dealing with retailers and these concerns. So thanks, Jon. We really appreciate it.
Yes, we do. We love having new people on the show. So if you are interested in being on the show, please reach out, Robin on tether.tv or Asif at the LBMA.com. Guys like Jon make this industry so appealing to be in, and the stuff that they're doing is innovative as well. So check them out at iInside.com. I know that they're going through a redesign of the website, but just go to iInside.com, and that's the letter I, inside.com for more information about those guys. Thanks, Jon. We're back in. We got three more stories. The first one, Asif, our fourth story is about Apple, which is a unique approach here. This is what makes Apple interesting to me.
What makes Apple Apple? They always try to do things their own way, right?
Well, they build hardware, right? And they build hardware in a way that remember they had Johnny Ives on talking about like the bevel on the screen as a he spent like 20 minutes talking about the bevel on the screen, and it's around design, implementation, and innovation around this. And here they are talking about a new patent that has surfaced for like a location sensing battery. System, I think, is the best way to describe it, and it is a battery that actually, based on location and charging patterns and usage patterns, flares up in power or diminishes in power to make your battery last longer. Like everybody's trying to reinvent batteries. What Apple's trying to do is think a little bit higher and think, okay, so how do we use your usage patterns and your location to be able to reduce battery consumption or increase battery consumption so that the battery lasts longer? So it goes into a state of sleep or activity based on a number of things, one of them being location. How cool is that?
I think it's awesome. I mean, and I can see all sorts of applications just in my own travel patterns, right? Like I'm on my device all the time when I'm on the road, and when I'm at the office or wherever. But when I get home, the phone just sits there on the desk.
Yeah.
Right? I'm on my laptop the rest of the time. So does it need to be consuming the same amount of power, and battery as it does when I'm using it all the time and walking around during the day? No. Right? So, and if you can look at those patterns and you can optimize that battery based on that, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Well, I do, and I do as well. And when you travel with it, I get 4 hours out of my phone. Right, like that's what I get on my iPhone. I use it as like I consume battery power with it. So if they can optimize the battery consumption so that when I'm not using it while I'm traveling or while I'm out of the house, that it reduces it and extends it to 5 or 6 hours, that would be a godsend. And if they're doing that with battery, this battery system, I think it's incredible. I think that this to me is would help anyways, and because they're worried about it. Because you're right, as these things become thinner, screens become more powerful, they consume more power. Our reliance on location and GPS and cell towers and Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and all that connectivity into the car, into your headsets, it's batteries are not going to get better. So we got to get smarter here about how we use them, how we consume the power in them. And I don't want to wear a knapsack with a solar panel on the back to charge my phone. It just seems defeats the purpose. Very cool. So they got
maybe the case of the phone, the back of it should just be a solar panel.
Well, I think that there's talk about putting a motion charger on some of the cases. But again, I mean, if you've ever used, I go camping, and when I use the wind up light, it only lasts for a minute. It's too much effort. I'm just too lazy. So Apple, this is great. It's good for lazy people.
We like it.
All right. That's our fourth story. So Apple has got a new patent based on for a location-based battery system, which is very cool. Small innovations like that, it's the stuff that you don't see behind the scenes that make the difference in the product. All right, our fifth story here. MonsterMedia buys LocaModa. I don't know if this is a direct acquisition or this is an asset acquisition. Did you get the sense of this?
I think it's a direct
Okay, so two functioning companies, yeah.
Yeah. LocaModa's been around for a while. It's a company I've crossed paths with a number of times. Certainly one of the innovators in location-based digital out-of-home stuff.
Yeah.
And MonsterMedia, a huge player in out-of-home, has been for a long time. Probably one of the biggest, actually, I think, digital out-of-home companies, period. So I think there's some interesting technology fit here for them in terms of social media integration into screen content, and which is some of the things that LocaModa is focused on, is kind of bringing Twitter and Foursquare and Instagram feeds into screen media, and so they do that really well. And I think MonsterMedia was lacking in some respects there. MonsterMedia has huge distribution. So, they have just the roster of clients that those guys work with is just insane. And they've got some of the best locations in the world, like Times Square.
Yeah.
Places like that.
Oh, that place. Yeah.
Yeah, that place, right? So I think this is a really good fit for both companies.
Yeah.
So I like this deal. I mean, not a lot more to say about it than that, but nice to see that innovators in location-based digital out-of-home are getting recognition within the wider out-of-home industry, such that they're getting picked up.
Our sixth and last story. The best way to explain this story, this is Inglot deploys this Aopen transparent digital signage. These are cases that are transparent, that have the product behind them. I'm not even going to try to explain this. I'm going to run a little bit of a video as we're talking about this thing, simply because this is something that is, you don't really notice it until you see it in the video. It's very hard to explain, but these guys have built a screen, basically a case with a transparent screen that showcases the product, and then they're playing video around, and it's an interactive video around the product, which is, it's eye-catching, isn't it?
Yeah. It's all about, we talk about the customer experience, right? And how do you fight showrooming and all these kinds of things? Well, I mean, you can't do this, on your smartphone with, going to Amazon. Like that's not possible, right? These are the kinds of things that you can only experience in the store.
It's so hard to explain, and if you're listening to this and you're not watching it, it's very difficult to explain, because it just works. I think that it's an innovative, kind of like how would you describe this? Like a product shadow box, right? With video.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good way to describe it. Yeah.
3D, and those are the kind of things that I think you're right. The display advertising has to be like that now in order to be able to attract. It's so competitive.
And the other piece I like about this, so it's not just about drawing people's attention to it. They also have a video camera built into this box that is looking at the behavior of the user, so they can determine gender, they can determine, and capture statistics about who's actually coming and looking and interacting with this thing. So they can do gender, age group, all that kind of stuff. And they're gathering this data from this thing. So it is about kind of marketing and promoting the product in a unique way, but it's also about collecting data to understand, who is this appealing to, and who's actually interacting with this stuff. So this is kind of cool in an anonymous way. So I like it.
In an anonymous way, I just can't imagine that. I mean, it's going to be technologists that are fascinated by this. So it's going to be. Do you think it'll skew their numbers based on Hey, wait, how can we have mid 50-year-old white men looking at this thing, like trying to kind of examining it, around the corner? Because I think that's what it'll attract, right? I often think about this: is that is it attracting the right demographic for the product, or is it bringing in a demographic that wants to see the actual technology behind the product?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the article I read at the end of it said that they've been running it for 2 months, and they're already seeing direct increase in sales that they think they can attribute to this. So yeah.
That's great. Well, is it the company Aopen that's driving new sales of this, or is it the actual Inglot, the cosmetics company? Yeah,
it's Inglot.
Yeah. Well, very fascinating. It's those kinds of experiences that I think are obviously going to have to, enhance the in-store experience. You want them looking at the product, not looking at your screen. I think that's another good lesson. So bring the screen to the product. It's pretty cool.
I wonder, however, I like, to your earlier point about not making the customer do a lot or go to a website or those kinds of things. So, there's got to be some significant cost to putting this kind of technology in place. And I wonder, on a simpler level, if you could achieve the same kind of functionality or reaction using augmented reality or something layered on top of the display case. With different results, obviously. I mean, you're not going to have video cameras there tracking, and getting you those statistics. But, in terms of creating interaction with the product itself, there are a lot of things like this, like AR, that you could use, I think.
Well, and the flip side is that this is one dimensional. This is one way, right? So,
Yeah.
You're putting up the screen, you're broadcasting out to the user, you're gathering demographic information based on who's looking at it. But are you connecting with the device? Are they taking anything home with them?
Yeah.
Like Link It last week. Here's a perfect way to do a tap to recall or a tap to transfer information or something like that. Like Linkit should partner with these guys to be able to bring that information and connect.
Exactly.
So there is a piece here, and maybe there is. You use something like this, the transparent screens, to attract, and then you do an augmented reality something, right? You've got to draw people and their attention to the product.
You build the Linkit piece into this. You tap the screen, with NFC, and it pushes a coupon for the product that you can then go redeem in the e-commerce site or something.
Yeah, don't discount while they're in store. Get them. You know what I mean? I love that.
Purchase, right?
Create a loyalty brand, but that's so. These are the beginnings, right? And for me, conversion rate is fine, but that still requires people to get into the store. And your goal is to create a lifelong customer. If you're going to put the money into it to create this, as you said, let's create a lifelong customer and create that link between you and the lifelong customer, because they might not ever get back to that store. That screen might break down, and you will have lost the opportunity to connect with them. So, so maybe they're half there. How's that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
At least a little more than half, I think.
Yeah. Technology is pretty neat.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
75% of the way, 3/4 of the way there.
All
right. Those are the 6 stories. That is the Mobile Minute with Chuck Martin. That is the app, Spott Messenger. That is the guest, Jon Rosen from iInside. Now it is time to finish it off with our resource of the week. And if I don't look at a coupon again, I will be so surprised, right? All of a sudden, coupons are it again. Is that they're on the increase, post-recession increase in coupons, which doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, so this is an article that references a report that's out from called the CPG Coupon Industry Facts. It's a report that's issued twice a year, I guess, half-year report. They call it by Valasys, which is a unit of NCH Marketing Services. There you go. So obviously a player in the coupon industry.
Wow.
So they're saying, coupons see post-recession recovery, double-digit growth in distribution and redemption going on. So they're talking about, 1.8% increase in coupon distribution. That's big.
Is that significant?
That's big. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I have no gauge here, but 1.8%.
So here's the key stat from this. In the first half of 2013, coupons for non-food products represented 62.5% of all the coupons distributed. That's 2.9% increase over the first half of 2012.
Okay.
So
that's clothing. So that's clothing and so textiles, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So exactly.
Well, that doesn't surprise me, because if you see how much email the Gap group sends out every day. Like they must make up about 80% of that number of coupons that have gone out.
It's crazy.
Well,
it really is. So you're talking about clothing. You're talking about I guess you're talking about furnishing as well of some sort, right? There would be coupon in that space. And then there's another stat in here that I saw that said, where is this here? The food segment. Yeah, so here's the food one here. So the end of this piece here. Study says redemption has dropped 8.1% in the first half because of the changes in the redemption formats. And it was 6.1% for print at home and 2.5% for paperless. So that's interesting, because we hear a lot a lot of the retailers I talk to complain about digital coupons because they can't scan the barcodes, they can't do all kinds of stuff. And so it's interesting to see that the redemption rate for paperless is 2.5%.
Well,
right? I mean, it validates what they're saying. Like I would expect that that number should be a lot higher than 2.5%. I mean, I would have guessed, like if somebody were just to ask me, I would say, yeah, it's 20%.
Yeah, or higher, right? Especially with all the hype that's gone on. But that's a really interesting strategy. Is that if you are in this business, if you are in retail, and you're using couponing as a way to bring in customers or create loyalty, think about that number, because are you creating loyalty by giving them a digital version of it, or are you impeding the use of that because it's digital? And to this, it sounds like it's impeding the usage of it.
Yeah, and that's why and so contrast the 2.5 with the 6.1 for print at home.
Yeah,
right. And that's why I think like solutions like what Impact Mobile's put out recently, the little device,
that
you put in the store with the kiosk and all that, and you take the digital thing and then you sync it up with this device, and then it spits out a paper coupon, right? That the store can actually redeem.
Yeah.
So so I think that's where you're going to start to see. So I think the data is interesting here, and it actually points or validates for me a lot of some of the issues that we're hearing about.
Well, it's so interesting to think about this, is that the issue is human behavior, right? And you don't want to be in the business of changing human behavior at this point. You want it to be it's going to be a gradual approach, but it goes to show you that this opportunity with something like Passbook from Apple. And the equivalents across all other platforms are very important. And mobile wallets are very important. And standardization on all of these platforms are very important, so that there's an easy way to bring the coupon into my device, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to taking a photo of it and having it in my photo stream, which is not effective, because then it synchronizes across my my Facebook account and up my Evernote and through the cloud. So there's got to be that central spot that is a standard where the coupons go into, so that I have them at that moment. Then there's got to be a layer on top of that, which is we talk about this location alerts, that I'm in the store and it reminds me that there's a coupon that I have in this standardized wallet. And I think that, so it doesn't surprise me, because it's kind of the wild west when it comes to that. And oftentimes people get so frustrated trying to find the coupon that you said, oh, forget it, it's not worth it, or they just forget that they have one and they don't redeem it. And so you don't want to change human behavior, but there's opportunity here. That's what it smells like, opportunity, and that's why these companies are going after these big paydays. But if I'm a company in the mobile wallet space, here is the problem right now. This is that first step in there, and you consolidate that for these people in a big way. All of a sudden, you might be the de facto place they go to for everything else.
Yeah, and that's the other reason that I was on a call earlier today with Alliance Data, the guys who own like Loyalty One up here, Air Miles in Canada, and a whole bunch of private label card programs for various retailers and whatever. And we were talking about, just that simplicity, and we've talked about it many times on here, of card linked offers, right? And how that solves the redemption issue,
easy,
right? By not having to have the thing, printed out, by not having to have somebody scan anything, just have it linked to the card.
No human interaction.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? So, anyway, some good data here that kind of just validates what we know and what we're hearing about.
Let me ask you something about that, though, Asif. Is that, do retailers, I don't know how to ask this in a nice way, but do retailers really want you to redeem coupons? Like, you know what? So I'm in the store. It seems to me that I want, as a retailer, to attract you into my store, but do they really want you to redeem it? Right, because it costs them money. It comes out of their budget.
But I think retailers understand that a coupon drives traffic.
Yeah, of course.
And without it, they just don't get the people in the store.
Yeah,
I think that's. I mean,
sad.
They do, but I think it's a behavioral thing that it's just the norm for many people.
Yeah,
many shoppers.
Well, it is. So, it's becoming more and more so. So this is like what seems like simple numbers at the very beginning when you think about these things, growth or non-growth, and how people redeem it. It displays an opportunity, or it shows where that next step is going to be. And here we are, 2.5% are paperless formats. People are still printing these more because they probably like the idea that, hey, look, I got a piece of paper because the other one's not going to work. I'm not confident, and they're not confident in the store store staff. They're not confident that it actually is a real coupon. They're not confident in any of that. So they want to print these things out. So fascinating. Who knew that this data would be so interesting? Wow.
There you go.
So
All right.
if you're interested in this story, we will have a link on the show notes up at untether.tv or the LBMA.com, wherever you're reading or watching this or listening to this fine podcast. Or even if you have it in iTunes or whatever podcast player you've got, if you subscribe to us, there are show notes there. You can actually click on the link inside of there and it will take you there. So you can do that right now, right from your device. Go. Check it out. That is it. 6 stories. Guest. We have our Mobile Minute, our app of the week and our resource of the week, and we are done with episode number 141. I would implore you, if you have a question about the location-based marketing world, the mobile marketing world, or anything to do with pervasive computing, anything that we talk about here, go to untether.tv/talk, leave a voicemail, leave your question. We will include it either in an episode or in an upcoming episode where we just take viewer questions. We implore you, please. It's free advice. We will answer these questions, every single one of them. So please go to untether.tv/talk and talk to us. That's my only push. That's my only play. Yes. Anything else to add to this episode, or can we close it down?
I'm good.
That is it. We will be back next week for episode number 142. Safe week, everybody. We'll see you next week. See?